All right, Alexis Rocha is back. 147-pound contender. He's in action on Saturday at the Toyota Arena in Ontario, California, against Raul Curiel. Excellent fight between two Southern California welterweights. The winner will be in a position to challenge for a world title at some point next year. And Alexis, Sergio and I were just talking about, when are prospects ready for big fights? We saw this past weekend, Matchroom had a couple of losses. Mark Castro lost. Jaleel Hackett lost. You're a guy that had a couple of setbacks early in your career. You were 16-0 when you had that fight against Rashidi Ellis. When a prospect loses, like how much of it is on them? How much of it is on the promoter? How do you see it?
The way I'd say it's really on them. They're the ones stepping in the ring, and they're the ones, signing up on the contract on that dotted line. So they set themselves up to go in the fight and have every expectation of fulfilling what's needed of them.
When you lost that fight to Ellis, was there any part of you like, man, what are you doing, Golden Boy, sticking me in with a guy that fights that particular kind of style?
No, not at all. Not at all. We knew what we're going for, and that's that risk you're willing to take to jump to the contender. At the time, I was a prospect. I needed to jump into a contender, and that's something that I wanted to take, something I wanted to challenge myself with, and that's something that I just wanted to do. And I told my coaches, I told my managers that I'm ready for it. And when it came to the night, it's just a setback.
Yeah, and Sergio and I were also saying that, like, we just love that you're the kind of guy that just dusts himself off and gets back in, right? And because you've taken that attitude, you are right now ahead of the guys that beat you in the past. Like Rashidi Ellis kind of got lost in the wilderness for a few years. We haven't seen much of Santillan since that loss that he had to Brian Norman, whereas you just keep coming back, bouncing back. You've already fought 2 times in 2024, and here you are once again, top 10 ranked by 3 of the sanctioning bodies. With, like I said, with a win over Curiel, you'll either be in a mandatory position or you'll be in a great position for a voluntary title defense at some point.
Yeah, that's the thing you got to look at in this sport. One loss doesn't define you. It's how you learn from those losses that define you. And I think both those losses, I've really learned a lot. They're very valuable learning experiences, and I'm here moving forward. And, right now I just got to focus on December 14th.
So what did you learn from the combined 2 losses there? Because there were 2 very different types of losses, right? Yeah. Like against Rashidi Ellis, he was a mover. You had trouble catching up to him, his boxing style. Got into trouble in kind of a brawl with Santillan. Like, what have you taken away from those losses that you think have made you a better fighter today?
I think overall it makes you better, not just physically, as in when you go in and then you go in and exchange. I mean, when you go in, you have a game plan to follow your game plan, but first and foremost, the mentality you have to carry to follow that game plan. You can't panic. You can't be scared. When everything kind of goes down south, you have to have that composure to pick yourself up and just keep sticking to the game plan. When I fought Rashidi, I was a little intimidated, not gonna lie. I kind of was in a shell the whole night. Not necessarily of Rashidi, just kind of the whole limelight of the whole co-main event. It wasn't a big card, and there was no people there. It was during COVID, so that was awkward itself. And yeah, I really just froze that night. I think the similar kind of situation with Giovanni when he was kind of pressuring me, broke my nose. Like the first punch he threw, I had blood gushing down. I couldn't breathe through my nose. And I wasn't really intimidated. I was like, all right. Like I started thinking with my head, and I was kind of fighting with my balls instead of my head. That's something that you really can't do in this sport, especially at this level of contender, when you're in the contender going to a champion, because everyone fights hard and everyone hits hard the first 4, 5 rounds, 6 rounds. You got to take them into the longer rounds, and that's when the real fight begins.
So how do you, to borrow your words there, like how do you avoid fighting with your balls in a fight like this against Raul Curiel? Because like I think that your boxing skills are on a better level than him. I don't think it's in your best interest to go out there and play rock'em sock'em robot with him. I mean, I don't think that's the pathway to you winning this particular fight. But sometimes when you get into those kind of fights, yeah. I'm guessing the instinct is like, you know what? You want to rumble? I got 2 hands too. I'll rumble back with you. How do you prevent that mindset from taking over?
It's just since the loss, really, since the Giovanni loss, I tell myself I can't bang with these guys. I'm strong. I'm not the biggest welterweight. There's a lot of welterweights bigger than me. but God did bless me with some skill sets, and I haven't really shown that. I kind of demonstrated a little bit in the Dominguez fight, who was a big guy who wanted to exchange with me, and I was the matador, he was the bull, and I just wanted to box him. And I remember the first round, Dominguez came out swinging for the fences, and he was kind of hitting me, and he actually landed some pretty good shots, and he was actually really strong. I remember telling myself, like, I can compose because I can't go on and fight with my balls, like I said. So that's something I think that's patience, and that's very hard. And it's patience and discipline. That's very hard to teach, and it's a very hard skill to develop.
Do you think in years past you might have said, you know what, this guy's going to throw haymakers, I'm going to throw him right back, as opposed to kind of fighting with the discipline that you fought with against Dominguez?
Yes, 100%.
And when you and Hector are in the gym in between these types of fights, are there things you can do, while you're in the gym to kind of work on, that approach? I mean, a lot of it is mental, right? Like you said, like, I'm going to be smarter. I'm going to use my head a little bit more. But skills wise, what has been the focus for you this year?
The skills wise, just boxing. I don't want to really be in too many wars. If there's, because eventually it's a fight. It's a brawls and a breakout. If you're moving around and this guy's coming for your heads off, you're gonna have to get his respect with some couple shots. So I think sometimes you're gonna have to brawl, make it an ugly fight, whatever it is. But you have to use your mindset, and that's what we've been using in the gym when I've been sparring, when I've been hitting the mitts, when I've been shadow boxing, just kind of visualizing an aggressive target, or even a boxer. Just kind of implementing everything that I can.
So you and Raul are both Southern California welterweights, promoted by Golden Boy. I would imagine somewhere in your mind you thought you two would eventually meet at 147. Like, when did it start to kind of crystallize for you? Like, all right, I might be fighting this guy. And when they offered him up, what was your reaction?
I've heard of Raul. Obviously, he's been signed as long as I have. And that was pretty much it. I just kind of never looked to the sides of me, never looked back at me, just kept looking forward. And our names were really mentioned until like probably mid this year, maybe later this year. And then when they gave us his name, we automatically accepted it. And, that's what it is.
He hasn't fought anyone yet on your level with your type of experience.
Yeah.
The guys he has fought, he's been kind of mowing down over the last couple of years. What have you thought when you watch some of the tape on him? What do you see?
Like you said, he looks very impressive right now. He's keeping these knockouts. I believe he has a nine. Well, I don't even know what 9 knockout streak, but look at the opposition he's fought. I don't think he's fought anyone in my caliber or anyone that I've faced in my opposition.
Yeah, and I think the one he had 3 fights earlier against Pennington was a weird knockout. Like, the referee just stopped that fight in the 10th round for reasons I'm not exactly sure about. Like, do you see? I mean, you never know what a guy's got until he fights someone at a real level. What kind of skills do you see in him?
He has skills. He's hungry. He's a hungry guy. He's gonna come forward. I know all night. He's Mexican. He's gonna come. He has that orgullo. He's a proud guy. He's gonna come and bring it. But he's gonna find out there's levels to this.
Mm-hmm. You've said that a couple of times. I watched the face-off you did with him, with Gabe Rosado in the middle, and you were like, "Hey, there is levels."
I truly feel that. I truly feel what I've gone through adversity. I've gone through all the opponents. I've gone through the losses. Whatever it so be, there is levels to this. This is a bigger stage he's ever fought in. I'm a much different fighter than the ones he's fought in, and I believe there is levels to this.
And that adversity, kind of take it back to what we talked about at the beginning. Like, has that made you a better fighter? Like, are you better off as a fighter, as strange as it might sound, to have 2 losses on your resume as opposed to maybe getting 2 easy fights instead of Rashidi Ellis and Giovanni Santillana going in undefeated?
100%. You go. I mean, in this sport, you have to fight the best to be one of the best, and that's to be one of the best welterweights, to get a belt, to be a champion. I know there's 4 belts on the line. There's 4 sanctioning bodies you have to fight for, but to get to those belts, you have to fight arguably the best in your division, and that's what I did. What good is it going to be if I keep fighting, a bunch of no ones, and I finally fight, I don't know who it may be, Jim from I don't know where, and then I lose to him because he's actually kind of a threat.
The world title has just been kind of right there, just outside of your reach over the last couple of years. You were the first one to put your hand up, a year and a half ago to say, I'll fight Terrence Crawford if he wants to fight. I'm the mandatory at that point. Like, how much does that still motivate you to get your hands on that full world title?
Oh, that's the motivation, But the motivation is to be a world champion, but you know, whoever it may be, the motivation is just to be victorious, whatever night I may fight. Yes, the world champions will come, but right now, like I said, it's just December 14th is on my mind.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fantastic fight. Both you guys are fun fighters, talented fighters, and look, I'm really interested to see like if your level is higher at this point, because your experience level is significantly higher. And I rewatched that Dominguez fight the other day, and I could see it. I could see the patience that you showed in that fight. You were a different kind of fighter than the one that I saw going into the fight with Santillana. It was just like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's go. Let's fight. I got a broken nose. Whatever. Let's just do it. You were a boxer, right? And I think that's going to benefit you, not just in this fight, but in other fights moving forward. Some fights, I mean, against Frederick Lawson, you took the fight to him. You're like, you know what? I'm just going to knock this guy out. You were much more disciplined, I think, against Dominguez.
Yeah, much more disciplined, just a different type of fights. Lawson didn't want to exchange, so it's like I got to be the one to kind of bully him around, and you know he's an opponent. And then Dominguez, he's another Mexican undefeated fighter. He was coming to win. He was coming to you know, not to dethrone me, but to come and just upset me because I was the A side and he was the B side. And that's the thing. And that guy was pretty strong. Take my hats off to him. He was very strong. And yeah, just fight with this. No, not down there, you know.
No question about that.
Yeah.
Going to be a great fight. Saturday, Toyota Arena, Ontario, California, live on DAZN. Alexis, good to see you back, and looking forward to being there for the fight.
Yeah, appreciate it.